Nicole Braden is a business student here at the University of Maryland from South Orange, New Jersey. She lives near New York City, so she participates in marches and other events there. Nicole is a very motivated student. She is an active member of Alpha Phi, Maryland marketing team, Spoon, which is a food Instagram account on campus, business clubs, and internship opportunities. She is an example of a strong, independent woman who works to defy gender injustices. She became involved in women's activism when her mother and grandmother explained to her how women are mistreated within society. With her family and friends, Nikki began to become involved in feminist activism. She attended the Women's March and joined clubs which promote gender equality. In what ways have you participated in the feminist activism?
I did the Women's March in New York City last year. And I also was in the Power Club, which was a club in my school for feminism, which a bunch of my friends were in.
What made you become involved in the feminist activism?
My mom really inspired me to become active in feminism because she's very independent and very strong, and I want to inspire others to be like her, and I want to be like that, so that's why I got interested in it.
Can you describe the emotions you felt when you attended the Women's March?
I went to the Women's March with my mom, my friend's mom, and another one of my friends, so I was already very close with them, and it was nice to be with my mom and my friends. So it was a very already a loving environment, just us. And then when we got there, it was so inspiring, and everyone was very happy and smiling, and just a lot of people were crying and very emotional. And I just literally could not keep a smile off my face because it was just so inspiring, and I was so happy I was there.
How can women who want to become involved in the feminist movement get involved?
Well, on campus there are lots of clubs and places where you can go to, get involved. So also there's the March for Our Lives, which is in late March, in a couple weeks, I think. And it's a march on Washington, but they're also going to have it in a bunch of different cities just to come together against for gun control. Also, there's PSA, which is a club that one of our sisters in Alpha Phi are the president of, and it's preventing sexual assault, and that's a good place to go to find a bunch of strong women to hang out with and also learn about sexual assault and how to prevent it. Also, Greek life. Sororities are a good place to find lots of strong women and to promote feminism and women empowerment.
Many believe the feminist movement has an anti-male agenda. What is a way in which you can combat this false assumption?
Well, in the Women's March, there were a lot of men there, and people made sure to not make signs that were anti-men, men suck or anything. That's not what people were going for. It was more just equality. Feminism is wrongly equated with women being over men, but that's not the case. It's more women being equal with men and just getting to the point of where men are. The march, the focus was equality and not women being over men. So in order to stop that agenda that women are over men, we just have to promote the fact that feminism is equal to equality. It's just a different name for equality. So don't get freaked out by the word feminism.
Where do you see sexism in your daily life? Do you feel you have an unfair disadvantage?
I think that in everyday life it's more just men being respected more than women. If you're in a class and I think of an idea, maybe people won't listen to it, whereas if my guy classmates has an idea, then that will be respected more. So it's stuff like that it just happens every day, and it's so ingrained that most people don't even notice it.
What are the steps we can take as women to achieve our goals?
specifically, I think a huge step was the Women's March, because it was literally people all over the world participating in like women empowerment and everyone coming together against a specific, cause. I think like more things like that where people like all over the world are literally coming together on like just being women and like being powerful is just important. And I think like the more that happens, the more that everyone can come together, like despite racial, socioeconomic boundaries, I think that's when people will realize how important this is, like how important it is to for men and women to be equal in society.
Do you think when the law recognizes these injustices, it will trickle down to the rest of society, or do you think it will always be a de facto injustice?
I don't know. I think it'll kind of always be an issue, though you can't really compare it race-wise, though, there are laws against racism. There is still racism in the world, and I am unsure if that will ever go away. And de facto racism is such a huge problem in like education, like everywhere, literally in society. So I'm not sure if like anything can change that besides like coming together and working on it as a society, and not like the government just telling us, or not telling us, but the government making laws, though that does affect a lot. I think that it has to be like a movement by the people to like actually change the de facto sexism and also de facto racism.
How can we combat sexism in our daily lives?
I think it's very important to just speak up. I never used to until I met more like friends that are very strong and do like say something. But I think if you ever like are in a situation where you see one of your friends or anything like that like being targeted, I would just say something. And though that one instance may not seem like it has a big effect on life, but I think it does. And every time you do speak out, you're gonna inspire more people to do the same. And once like everyone is making an active effort to speak out against sexism every day, then it'll stop happening, hopefully. And also just participate if you see any clubs or any events that your friends or other women in your campus and life are having. I would just like go, and power in numbers. So I would just go to any event that you see that you think can make a difference.
You had mentioned that your mom and grandma played a big role in your decision to get involved in feminist activism. Can you elaborate on how they are strong women and role models in your life?
My mom and my grandma are big inspirations because they were always like very independent. My grandma is from Jamaica, and she came by herself to America when she was like 16, and she lived in New York by herself, and she like went back and forth to Jamaica all the time, like as a young woman. And so she was like very independent, very strong. She's like worked her entire life. My mom also, she started working when she was like 16, and she's been working ever since. Always like the most independent woman I know, and so strong. And they just taught me to like never be dependent on anyone else, and to always like make a life for yourself. Never let anyone like dictate what you do and you can and cannot do. So they really inspired me in that way. And so like feminist ideals have always like kind of gone hand in hand with that. So like my mom has never really, or my grandma has never really said like feminism by name, but I know that's like exactly what they stand for.
Do you think it's difficult for girls to get involved in the movement if they don't have a good role model?
I don't think it's difficult to become a feminist with no role model, because you can't really not have a role model. There are literally people around us in pop culture everywhere, not even people, women everywhere, that are just amazing role models. Like, for example, like, first person that pops in my head, like, Beyonce. Everyone knows Beyonce. She's, like, an amazing role model, strong woman. Michelle Obama. Everyone knows Michelle Obama, and she is probably, like, she's an amazing person to look up to. I just, like, yeah, and maybe you don't have a role model that's, like, close to you, like your mom or your grandma, but if you watch TV, you know politics or pop culture or anything, or our past presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, like, you know that there are role models around that you can look up to, and there are always going to be people that you can look up to when you're thinking about feminism.